Welcome, everyone, to another amazing opportunity to explore what's going on with the USA chart. I'm here with KG Stiles. So good to do this with you, KG.
Thank you
And
for having me here again.
yeah, and we're just like blown away. Minds expanded in amazing ways to all the things that are going on. And so I think I'll let you lead us off, KG, because I know you're really on this more than I'm astounded at some of the things that I hadn't even noticed.
Yeah, every time I look at the charts, it's like I see more things. It's just ever mind-boggling. All the interconnections and the specificity of what's being orchestrated now by the universe to help us. Um, And Cayelin and I were talking about that we really need, and I feel this, we need to ride this wave that is coming in. It started like mid-June into the solstice, the Cancer new moon, and we're still on this wave. We can catch this wave. Then things start to recede um, as we get to July 4th, when things are going to be shifting around right then. Neptune's going to station retrograde. Um, Venus is going to go into Gemini um, July 7th. Uranus is going to go into Gemini. Um, we just, and then we have that Capricorn. I think by the Capricorn full moon, we'll have entered the Mercury shadow retrograde and Saturn stationing retrograde. A lot of planets will start stationing retrograde. So now is the time to catch that wave. So Cayelin and I want to really emphasize that now is the time. Don't hold off. If you really feel you need to make choices, make those choices.
It'll
Um,
be easier to make them now than later because
you
the
want to
energy,
work the energy,
it's
not
like
let
we
the energy
go with
work
the
you.
flow. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the wave crashing down on you. You want to work, you want to move with the energies.
Yeah. Beautiful. I love that. And moving with the energies, also how we were looking at how it's not about resisting what's going on, because that's not going to necessarily help anything. Um, and when we're resisting, I said this just the other day. I was doing a video. I said, Carl Jung said, "What you resist persists." So it's like, okay, so if we're in resistance to everything that's happening and or in some way feeling like it's our job to try to fix it, it's not. Our job is to live the best life we can, to make the choices that are going to be the most supportive to us personally. And that will have a ripple effect. Because if we're happy, if we're in a good place, if we're coming from a place of love and kindness and caring, then we're putting that energy into the world, and that's what changes the world. So just keeping that in mind with all of these energies happening. So do we want to look at what has just been going on now?
Yeah. Well, you're going to look at the Cancer new moon, just what kind
Yeah.
of unlocked with that.
Yes. Yeah. So here's the Cancer new moon chart. Just happened yesterday. We're recording this the day after. So we're still in the energy of it, very strongly still in the energy of it. And probably one of the most astounding things is how the moon, Jupiter, sun are also close to the natal USA Jupiter. And in fact, there's going to be an exact Jupiter return at the solar return of the USA chart. We'll talk about that more in a little bit. And there's just so many amazing things that are going on with this new moon chart that was seeding something. And, like started with the solstice, as you said, maybe even before that, as maybe it started with Jupiter moving into Cancer on June 9th. And then, there's like this
That was
wave.
about the time that Vesta actually stationed direct. So Vesta
Right.
plays a big role in all of this, I think.
Yeah. And you know what? Who else? Pallas Athena stationed retrograde on that day, with very close to the natal Pallas Athena and the moon of the US chart. So that aspect of the feminine also being very, very present. Uh, like, whoa.
Well, it's another warrior aspect that's
Yeah.
being activated. I
Yes.
feel like one of the things Cayelin and I were talking about is how many of the feminine asteroids, feminine Kuiper Belt objects are involved in these exact aspects that are happening that are triggering these changes now. So it's like the feminine impulse needs to be brought into the equation to bring balance on the earth. So
Yes.
that really is encouraging, and also helps me feel there is some safety, especially aligning with the feminine impulse and what that means for you, um, to bring more of a receptive, like rather we were talking about too, acceptance, how it's important to accept. Then it's kind of like being the like in Aikido, you receive the energy and then you direct in the direction that you want things to go. So I think that's the whole receiving and then redirecting in the direction, and also magnetizing your own um, energetic field. We all have, we'll be talking more about this word plasma and how we have a field of influence around us and to expand that. And that's really what we manifest from. We need to energize and magnetize our fields so that we attract results that we want to happen in life.
So putting our attention on what we really want, not attending to the things that we don't want necessarily. I mean, sometimes we need to attend to things so that the things we don't want don't manifest. So we need to attend to things. But attention and intention, where's our awareness? And that's how we are attracting into our reality. Wayne Dyer really summed this up in a beautiful way. He said, to change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. And what you think about is what you're creating, was what's creating your reality. So this is our opportunity, is to really be conscious and to make conscious choice to focus on what it is and feel into what it is we really truly want to create in our personal lives. And then that'll have a ripple effect into the greater collective reality.
Also, we're going to be getting a real opportunity to change those perspectives. The energies that are constellating, that's another thing Cayelin and I were talking about, that there's such pressure building to make a change, to make a shift. And if you look at the Mercury effect, really right now we have Chiron and Eris square to Mercury, the natal Mercury of the US
So
chart.
here's Chiron and Eris where they are currently, and then here's the USA natal Mercury. And so they've already each made a pass, and they'll each make two more passes by that. So we're in this process of ideally healing the wounds and allowing the changes that come forth so that we can go forward in a better way.
Yes,
And
and I think a lot of shadow stuff is coming up right now
oh
that people are needing to look at.
yeah,
And this is really putting a spotlight on that. And
yeah.
then the Mercury retrograde that's going to happen in Leo.
On
Um,
July 17th, Mercury goes retrograde in Leo.
I think that will give a greater opportunity. I think a lot of things will, some of the stuff that's happening now is very subtle compared to the more in-phase things that will be happening a little later this year, such as
Yeah.
when Ceres um, begins to square the sun and Jupiter. Is it already squaring? Where it's at 11 degrees, so it's going to square the sun. It's going
Right.
to square the U.S. sun. So then it will be hitting the heart. I mean, that's, the sun rules Leo. Mercury is going to retrograde in Leo. So I think there's another connection, the very heart of the nation is going to get a wake up call. I think Ceres really deals a lot with the agriculture, with the coming into I think we've been coming from a nurturing place with the Cancer influence in the U.S. chart. We've got real fixed attitudes about our perceptions about what that is, what that means, and there needs to be a shift in how we see things, how we look at things. Our values needs to shift.
Yes.
So there will be a lot of pressure with, I think environmental things can happen. Um, um,
Yeah,
we
you know
could
the
see more systemic changes, how certain things aren't working like with agriculture, and maybe we'll get glimmers into more sustainable agricultural coming on the scene. I mean, that would be my hope.
that indeed.
Because at
I
the
think
same, sorry.
I was just gonna say I think you're on to something there. And if we think about what's happening in the realm of the Cancer mysteries, it's been about hierarchy. Like, I know, and you should do what I tell you to do.
Mhm.
How the parents raise their children, but also anybody who's in a position of power and so on. And really, we need to come into a place of greater co-creation, collaboration, and cooperation. And so that it's not about I know and you should do as I tell you to do, which is not necessarily helpful.
Yeah,
But our,
this it's much more the mother as warrior, the Ceres and Aries.
yes, yes. And how she will defend and protect her children or whatever that is she's, whether it's a mission or a purpose or whatever it is. Uh, but she's also pretty hands off and not like telling them what they should do or shouldn't do. They can have their own journey, but don't mess with them.
Except she may get more forceful
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
time. That's what I'm picking up on, that she
Yeah.
may feel the need to be more forceful. Now, the Vesta um, down in Scorpio will be trine all the personal planets.
Yes.
It started, yeah, it went direct, and now it's going to be trining all of the personal planets through to
Actually,
mid-September, when Vesta will move into Sagittarius. So I feel Vesta will be protecting what's good and true in America. There's a flame of protection that Vesta is giving to protect the essentials, the and getting to the priorities and bringing those to light again, and to protect those people coming more into awareness again of what really is the value.
I love what you're saying, and it's fascinating to see. Here it's the solar return chart. So you can see at the time of the solar return, Jupiter at 5 Cancer, with Jupiter natally at 5 Cancer, in just minutes of being exact, precise on that day. But the other thing is that Vesta, the moon is crossing Vesta that day, has just crossed Vesta by the time of the exact solar return, which is happening late in Philadelphia, 9:51 p.m. I ran it for Philadelphia because that's where the Declaration of Independence was signed. So makes sense to run it for that place to get the sense of what that is about. And we also have Juno in Scorpio. Like there's the triple goddess here at this time with they're with Vesta being within 10 degrees of Juno. So how are we cultivating healthier relationships and also honoring them as sacred and tapping into life force energy in a way that means we can actually create something new and different that is aligned with what we're passionate about.
So what are some other things we were there's
Right?
so much going on.
I
I
know.
think those are some important things that we covered.
And you
um,
can see here too that Saturn is with the IC. It's still with the IC. It's just gone retrograde. So
yeah, it's
and
gonna be
goes
close to the
retrograde that
IC.
day. It's going retrograde that day. And then on the 12th, I'm sorry, not that day. It going retrograde on June 12th. Neptune went retrograde. It goes retrograde on July 4th. And as you said, Venus is entering into Gemini that day. And then 3 days later, Uranus will be entering into Gemini as well. So they've been hanging out close together. So the feminine going through the opportunity to see things completely differently, to have a more expanded vision of how this is meant to unfold, and to do it in a way. I like to think of Uranus as being evolution, revolution for evolution. What are the revolutionary ideas and ways that we're coming forward to create something new and different that creates the evolution that's needed and necessary at this time?
So, well, it is really good to see the feminine influence more in the charts that are unfolding now. I mean, it definitely, the feminine is stepping up her
Yeah,
game.
yeah.
So, I also wanted to talk about Pluto. We're finally getting out of Pluto is in the final is in a retrograde, which began on May 4th at 3 degrees 49 minutes of Aquarius. It is quincunx to Venus in the US chart. And so there again, I mean, there's bringing in the Venus influence that is very operative at this time.
Yeah.
Um, I think Pluto is kind of like in the final phase of like having to look over things to see what needs to be restructuring. And again, it's that reevaluation of the US national values, things related to money, um, our allies, our own aesthetics, our cultural identity, all those things are up for review. And we're kind of post Pluto return fallout, which happened, it was exact at 27 degrees Capricorn in 2022 and 2024.
Yeah. And
So
then
we're kind of right at the place of review right before Pluto stations direct in early Aquarius. I think it stations direct in October. I
think
forget what
that's,
the
yeah,
exact.
that's what I'm remembering. Also, Pluto will then in 2027 be with the south node of the US chart. So we're in that space between it having, like you're saying, having been with Pluto, and now that, and then next going to the south node. So what's being revealed, and how are we being empowered, and what are the things of the past that hold us back from being who we are? What was the original intent from being a nation that really represents that original intent? What's in the way of that? Pluto's going to put a spotlight on that.
So
And
yes, and that's the restructuring. That was what I was just pointing to, is that we're going to begin a restructuring phase now
yeah,
that we're at this post Pluto and it goes direct. We'll actually begin to see some restructuring happening
yeah. And with
because,
Saturn so prominent right at the USIC. So, and then it'll go into the Saturn opposition. It's also going to square Venus and Jupiter and Sun and Mercury. And it's then also going to, and it'll conjunct Chiron. I mean, Saturn over the next 2 years is amplifying this chart every year.
yeah,
Uh,
and then also there's that Pluto trine, the trine between Uranus and Pluto, that's going to just speed everything up.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And of course, Chiron, as we already mentioned, Chiron and Eris adding their energies. So this opportunity to really do that deeper dive into the realms of things that where the deepest wounds are, where the fears are, where the shadow places are within us individually, as well as within the US, and I guess the rest of the world could join us on that
And
too.
also, I think, I mean, something that we're all probably pretty aware of is that we've been in a place of where we've been projecting a lot of the things that we're uncomfortable facing. We've been projecting onto the other. We've been
Right.
demonizing the other
Right.
to get it to carry our shadow. And I don't think that's, I'm hoping we're going to get to a place where we'll realize that is not going to work. We need to all work together. We need to unite. We need to be together on this. And,
Yeah.
I think one of the challenges with the Pluto quincunx is that quincunxes are, they're notably uncomfortable, because they're between elements. They're discordant elements. They don't really share anything in common. So it's right for, disowning a part of yourself and projecting one to the other because they're making you feel uncomfortable. And so that's our challenge. That is the main homework I feel like that we have to do. What do you
Yes.
think about that, Caitlin?
I agree with you. And you know, I guess the ideal thing for us to focus on is how do we stay in a place of peace within ourselves, a place of love within ourselves, a place of uh, being able to nurture who we are and those around us, those that are closest to us. And that has a ripple effect into the greater reality. So, if we're focusing on that, if we're putting our attention on that, if we're feeling into that, because it's not just thinking about it, but really feeling it, that helps us it to manifest and come into form. And really, Saturn's here to help us create a whole new form, a whole new way of being with inside ourselves as humans inside, within ourselves, but also within our country at the IC, Saturn at the IC right now. Feels like that's really important. So how are we focusing on it's not as long as we're not doing harm to anyone, then we're on the right track. As long as we're fulfilling our dreams and desires and it's not harming anyone, we're on the right track.
Yes. So, the only other thought, and also one of the things that I wanted to say, because I feel like one of the things we are moving towards is becoming more um, integrated into our galactic home. You know, we're getting to have an awareness of ourselves as galactic citizens, and I think this is a period. I don't know that it will happen during this period because I think that our planet needs to move beyond war with itself in order to attract, to be able, so ETs will even feel comfortable to really expose themselves.
Right. And that again comes back to the doing no harm. Because if we're at war, we're doing harm. And even if we think we're righteous about it and we have a righteous reason for doing that, it's still doing harm. And there's got to be a better way. And are we willing to consider and to imagine and to dream into the possibilities of how we could be on a planet where everybody gets along? So be global citizens, not just in our local area, but globally thinking what is it? Act locally, think globally. Um,
Rick,
but,
yeah, Rick
uh,
Levine, Rick Merlin
right.
is always saying
And
that.
also, I love what you're saying. We need to also think galactically. And we are at a time when the December solstice is aligned on the galactic cross near the galactic center. And this only happens for a period of time, like, 1926 to 2070, the biggest window of that. So we're in it and connecting to those galactic energies as well. So that's I feel like that's our opportunity.
Well, it will happen when it's best for it to happen.
Yeah.
But I feel that definitely, opening our awareness about who we are. I mean, that's a really important question to ask. Who we are as individuals, who we are as US Americans, who we are as global citizens, who we are as galactic beings. Um, those are good things to feel into and see what surfaces for you. Do a meditation and see how big of a being you really are.
Yeah.
I did look at Iran's astrology chart because I was curious to see what was percolating for them at this time, since this is big news right now with what has been constellated in the sphere of our social influence. Um, so I noticed that Mars is exactly conjunct Iran's natal Saturn, and that's exact on July 1st. What do you think about that activation between Mars and Saturn? What are some things that you
For
think
Iran, you
come
mean,
about?
or for in general?
Yeah, Mars is exactly conjunct Iran's natal sun, natal Saturn, exact July 1st.
Wow. Well, I think that what we see with Iran is that it's been a very controlling regime for a long time, and the people have been very repressed and suppressed. So perhaps, I I don't know, but just the thought that comes to me is perhaps what the things that have been going on is to help liberate the people from this repressive regime. I know that focus tended to be on the fact that they might have nuclear weapons or they're on the way to creating nuclear weapons, and that's definitely a concern. But what about the people? So, how are we starting to look at how can we benefit people? And so would Mars then represent the desire to protect its people in a good way that's not necessarily going to harm everybody else? Because nuclear weapons we know will be not only destructive to the people to where they're sent, but to the whole entire planet. Not a good thing.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
think you're right. I think that there will be, I think Mars typically is rather explosive, warlike, but I think that it could break down some structures.
It's already been
That's what,
happening.
yeah, and
Yeah.
expose structural weaknesses, and there could be a change in leadership,
Yeah.
and certainly there seems like a is very energized. And also, I noticed there's a nodal reverse. The north node is at 1 degree, at 17 degrees Virgo, and it's now at 21. So it's actively engaged.
Yeah.
So, um, so what do you think about that? That means that the
Well, I
north
think
node,
nodal reversals are an opportunity to uh, come to connect with our past, the things that hold us back, and also the things that help us move forward. So, what are the gifts of the past that could help us move forward? What are the ways of the past that aren't helpful that we could let go of so that then we can move toward a more fulfilling destiny. So maybe that's part of what's going on for Iran right now is that some of this is disrupting the things of the past that are not helpful.
yes,
We could go toward a more I saw something about this was a while back, some years ago, of the women in Iran did not have to wear the hooded whatever kinds of they were like dressed in miniskirts and
back in the
and
70s.
now all this repression has happened all for all these years, and maybe it's an opportunity to get liberated back into
Yes,
that place where they
I do
can
think it is an opportunity when they could break, these old could break.
the
So
repression.
also I saw that Uranus is conjunct Iran's natal moon at 28 degrees, 50 minutes of
Okay,
Taurus.
unexpected events that's going to take them in new directions that help to bust up the past so they can move towards that's just
Mhm.
another a similar statement.
And Venus will conjunct Iran's Taurus moon on July 3rd.
Wow. Yeah. Very, very amazing. So yeah, a lot's going on for Iran as well as for the US.
Yeah,
A
and
lot-
I was telling one of the interesting things is that Iran's ascendant is conjunct the US ascendant, so they mirror each other. So they're actually both a source. They can be rivals, but they are also catalysts for each other's growth and transformation.
Beautiful. I love that. So that's what we're going to put our attention on. We don't want to be rivals. We don't want to be rivals with them.
No, we're all in this together.
We're all in this together. We're all on the same ship, planet Earth. And if the ship goes down, we all go down with it. So
So, as I see it, this worldwide transition that we're all in as one people. First, we go through the conflict and collapse of the old structures, which we're going through now. In phase two, from 2025, starting now through 2030, Mars, there's a mass awakening. It's like rewiring and breakdown of false identity. And then phase three is emergence of new Earth-based alliances, planetary councils, or disclosure of existence of ETs 2030 forward. So, I mean, it doesn't happen to have to happen like this, but that was what I was seeing.
I love that. It makes me think of Star Trek and the Confederation. Like they have the all the planets having, coming together, the alliance. And of course there were warring things going on too, but but how do we all come together? Because it's like, if anybody's suffering, we're all connected to everything in the universe. So if anybody's suffering, then it's affecting us. If
Yes.
everybody's in the place of love and light and joy, then it's affecting us. So that I think is that's what we really want to focus our intention and attention on as we navigate this wave. I love how you said that, this wave that we're on right now. And that, as the planets in July go retrograde and we can do that pause and deeper dive, this is the time for that. So hopefully this is helpful and supportive to all of you. And is there any final words you have?
No, I hope that it was helpful to some people out there with getting their head wrapped around what is evolving at this time, and to help us come together more and unify, and that we're all on the same team. We're all working towards our evolution as a species, and that we recognize ourselves as global citizens and galactic beings.
I love that. That's such a great way to end. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time.